Hello students, welcome to the video tutorial on integrated library systems in India, categories and evaluation. In this particular tutorial, we will study different categories of ILSs available in India, and finally in the second part we will go for a set of parameters related to the evaluation of this particular ILSs available in our country. First of all, when we are saying that use of ILSs available in India, the picture is not quite clear till date. One study shows that almost there are 45 ILSs are in use in different types of libraries in different parts of the country. Now, how can we make an order out of this chaos? That means 45 different ILSs are in use in different libraries of India is a really chaotic situation. And most importantly, many school libraries and college libraries are using non-standard ILSs prepared by the local vendors. They are not supported any kind of global standards. They are not interoperable. That means the moment you have entered data, you cannot export or import data into that particular system. So, in this situation, if we want to study if we want to go for a systematic study of categorization of ILSs available in India, my view is that we need to take two different train of characteristics. First train of characteristics, we can use the distribution policy. That means whether the ILS is closed source product or open source product, or it is a freeware. Now, there is a difference between the open source and a freeware. In case of freeware, you are getting the product free of cost. You can download or you can get it from your friend or some distributing agencies, but you are not able to change the source code. That means, if you want to change the color of the first page of your library automation home page, you cannot do that in case of freeware. But in case of open source software, you are getting the source code as well as you are getting the binary version or the compiled version of the product free of cost. So, there is a difference. Now, the as for example, I can say that CDS-ISIS, as you know, is a freeware. It produced by UNESCO, given to us freely, but without the source code. It is a classical example of freeware. But the open source, the classical example is Koha, DSpace, Greenstone, where we are getting the binary version as well as the source code. We can change and we can go for different kind of customization. So, whole ILSs available in India can be categorized on the basis of the distribution policy. That means whether it is a closed source commercial product or it is a freeware or it is a open source product. And the second train of characteristics we can use, that is the place of origin. Whether it is a ILS of foreign origin or ILS of Indian origin or ILSs originated in foreign countries, but heavily customized and tinkered for Indian use. So, examples of this all three groups are available in India. Now, if we use these two train of characteristics, we can go for a 3x3 matrix. That means, as per the distribution policy, as I told you earlier, it can be closed source commercial product, it can be closed source free product, or it can be open source freely available. And another matrix or another column we can draw, that is it is for large library system, it is for medium library range library system, or it is a small scale library system. As from this particular categorization, you can see this particular cell represents a cross section of the closed source ILS available for large library system. This is closed source ILS available for medium range library system, and examples are given in each group. Say for example, in case of closed source ILSs available in India for large library systems from the commercial domain is VirtuILS and Libsys. Many of the big libraries like our National Library, Central Library of University Hyderabad and many other Central Library of Jamia Millia University, they are all using VirtuILS. And most of the other large scale library systems in India are using closed source commercial product libsys. If you come to the next categorization, that is the closed source product which are available as freeware, we have a software called ABCD. ABCD is based on the top of CDSISys. Just you can remember Decidoc produced same kind of software called Sanjay and WinSanjay on the top of CDSISys. So, ABCD is based on the top of CDSISys, but available in web enabled environment. That means it is using not only CDSISys as a backend database management system, but it is also using WWWISys, a product of the Brazilian group of CDSISys users to link CDSISys in web enabled environment. So, the ABCD is a freeware, but fully operational library automation system meant for the large scale library system. It is using CDSISys at the back end and WWWISys as a CGI Perl connector to interlink web architecture with the CDSISys datasets. Another cross section, if you study the last one, that is the large library system, what are the open source ILSs available? We have two big open source ILSs available and are in use in Indian libraries. One is the Koha, but version 3.x onwards. Koha up to version 2.x is meant for the small scale and medium scale libraries, but right from the version 3.x, Koha can handle any number of documents, any number of users, and basically meant for the large scale library system. Many of the big national libraries nowadays are also running by using Koha. For example, the National Library Catalog of Turkey is running on the top of Koha. So, another one in this candidate in this particular group is Evergreen ILS. So, this is basically a library automation system meant for library networks, but except serial controls modules, all the basic modules are available with the Evergreen ILS. If we move into the second column, here the libraries are medium range library system, closed source software are available, n number of closed source softwares are available, mostly people are using Soul and Slim21 for large scale libraries. For the medium scale libraries, we have freeware like eGranthalaya and WebList. Again, WebList is also based on CDSISys. eGranthalaya is a product of Government of India, NIC, National Informatics Centers produced it. Many school libraries and governmental departmental libraries actually are using eGranthalaya. And in the third range, third group, that is the open source ILS available for the medium range library system, we have Koha up to version 2.x and NewGenLib. Again, NewGenLib is an Indian product. That means first it was available as a commercial product, then luckily during the late 90s the authority decided that it should go for the public domain as open source software. So, many of the libraries, Indian libraries which are in the medium range libraries, which are medium range library systems, are using NewGenLibs. In the small scale library system, that is small government departmental libraries, small research libraries, school libraries, the most commercial products are Autoliv and Nirmals. In the freeware group, we have LAMP and Librarian. These are all, these two words you can download freely from the web. And in the open source community, we have candidate for the small scale library system. These are Emilda and PHP MyLibrary. So, this is a kind of categorization of ILSs available in India on the basis of distribution policy. Now, if we use the another system, that is the categorization on the basis of the place of origin, but before that, as I told you that the use of open source software and open standards are in rising in India and everywhere in the world. So, we need to go for another categorization of open source ILSs by the maturity level. So here we can categorize all available open source ILSs by their maturity level. Either they are fairly matured, moderately matured, or in infancy stage, or experimental in nature. In the fairly matured group of open source ILS, we have Emilda, Evergreen, Koha and NewgenLib. These are in use in different libraries all over the world. In the moderately matured group, we have Opals, OpenBiblio, PHP MyLibrary. Some of the library automation system which are in their infancy but available as open source are Avanti, eLibrary, PHP MyBibli, PMB. But in this group, PMB is a very potential candidate. It is progressing very rapidly, and at any point of time it can move from infancy to moderately matured group. But another interesting point I should tell you that about the experimental ILS. You see, for the last 4 or 5 years, there is a movement which is called ILS DI movement. This movement is basically aiming to integrate or merge library automation systems on the one hand and the digital library system on the other. You see, if you go nowadays to any particular library which are using ICT for providing library services, they are using two separate library system. One is for the automation, one is for the digitization. For example, in most of the libraries in India, we are using Koha as ILS for library automation and DSpace as digital library system. So user need to move from one ILS interface to another digital library interface. So ILS DI working in this regard for the last 3 years. How these two systems can be merged into a single integrated system, and they donated a huge fund. Actually, this is funded by the Mellon Foundation, and developed an ILS which is called Quali ILS. So, Quali ILS in future it will be providing a framework through which different library automation system can have a separate digital media archiving system to integrate the digital library activities as well as the library automation activities in one place. So, please keep a close watch on the Quali ILS. It is coming in a big way as an experimental ILS. Although no library presently use Quali ILS, but each and every libraries which are using open source software are keeping a close watch on Quali ILS, how it is developing. And it is a hugely funded project. The version 2 is already available with us, and many of the libraries are using this particular ILS as an experimental setup. Now, let us move to the next one. So, I already told you that library automation software available in India can be categorized under two groups: distribution policy and place of origin. Let us move to the place of origin. Now, if we categorize this software on the basis of three factors of origin, that is ILSs of foreign origin, which are originated in foreign countries but are in use in Indian libraries. Second is the ILSs of foreign origin but trinket, that is developed, distribution and Indianization done in the country for Indian libraries. And in the third group we can have ILS of purely Indian origin. Again, like previous one, we can have a categorization called large scale system, medium range library system and small library system. In the first cross section, that is the ILSs of foreign origin for large library system, we have Alice for Windows, it is a product from Australia. We have Evergreen, it is a product of US. We have Koha version 3.x onwards, product of New Zealand, but all these are now considered as international product because the developer community are distributed all over the world. And the Virtua ILS. Virtua ILS is again a product of US company called VTLS, Virtua Tech Library System. So, in the next column, what are the ILSs originated in foreign countries but trinket to operate in Indian environment, we have two products. One is the NG TLMS based on a software called TLMS developed in German, and the original TLMS is also available in the market. In the third column, what are the purely Indian origin ILSs available for Indian libraries? We have LibSuite, we have Libsys, Makis, NewGenLib, Slim21, Soul and so on. Here you see it is a merging of commercial software and open source software and freeware, because here we have used a train of characteristics as place of origin. Now, if we move into the next column, that is for medium range library, we have foreign origin Koha, Emilda, we have foreign origin Trinkard in India, that is the WinSanjay developed on the top of WinISIS, ABCD developed on the top of CDSISIS. In the third group for Indian origin, we have Autolib, DLMS, Libra, Librarian, Nirmal, Slim++ and many more. In the small scale system basically used by the school libraries and small college libraries, there are foreign origin, PHP My Library, OpenBiblio, PMB. In the second group, that is the originated in foreign countries but Trinkard for Indian environment, we have LAMP, that is also based on the CDSISIS up to version 3.07, that is a DOS version. WebList again based on the CDSISIS but available in the web compatible environment. And other purely Indian origin, we have Archives, Catman. Catman was the product of Instock, the then Instock, presently it is named as Niscare. Then we have many other software, Salim, Libes, LMSoft, LoanSoft, etc. Okay. So, now you know the real chaotic situation of ILSs that are in use in India, and from my experience what I can say you that 4-5 top ILSs as per their user base in India are Libsys, Soul, Koha. The use of Koha is rising every day, VirtuILS. These are the topmost library automation softwares used in different large scale Indian libraries. Now the question is that in this particular chaotic environment and with the availability of so many library automation software in the market, how can we select our product? Suppose as a library professionals, you need to select a library automation software from a group of candidates. So, what should be the parameters of selection? How you can evaluate a particular library automation system? That is the foremost important thing for an automation manager. So, if we go for the parameters of evaluation, we can have to check the service availability, we have to check functional checklist, what are the different functional activities supported by that ILS, what are the data conversion and backup utilities available, and most importantly whether that particular library automation software is compliant with the different global standards, agreed upon global standards. So, that particular point many Indian libraries overlook. So, standard compliance is a very important thing for selection of a particular ILS for your library. Then we need to check the third party hardware requirement and third party software requirement, technically we call them companion software, and lastly you have to go for different kind of performance testing. Let us start with the service availability. In the service availability group, we can categorize all available services into 3 major groups. One is the core services which we must to have kind of thing. Then enhanced services, these are not must to have, but if available it will make the life of a librarian easier. And in the third category, value added services. So, in the core services group you need to check the availability of acquisition, cataloging, circulation, OPAC, serials control, bibliographic format support, data exchange format support, article indexing facility, retro conversion utility, standard report generation and fairly easy system administration. So, these are the must to have library services available with an ILS. Then if we move to into the next one, what are the enhanced services we should expect from an ILS? These are the customized report generation, graphical user based user interfaces, reservation facility from the end user point of view. That means an user who is searching the OPAC, he or she can place a reserve on a particular book, interlibrary loan module, multilingual search support, online help both for the library staff as well as the end user, online tutorial, power search facilities, that is the availability of different kind of search operator, boolean operator, relational operator, positional operator, fuzzy searching, internet support, that means whether it can be portable over the web, whether you can serve your user through web OPAC or not, intranet support, whether you can run that software in a LAN environment, but by using TCP IP and HTTP. So, that means when you are using internet technologies within a local area network, that is called intranet. So, that support is also very important for ILS. Then web access facilities, web OPAC facilities, multimedia interface generation, barcode generation for books and member card, backup utility. So, these are the enhanced services we should expect from an ILS. Then comes the value added services. What are the value addition you can perform by using your ILS? That these are not within the core scope of an ILS, but it goes beyond the purview of an ILS. Say for example, patron self service through RFID facilities. So, most of the library automation software those are not RFID ready. You have to use different kind of standards and scripts to make that RFID ready. So, if a particular ILS is RFID ready, that is an added advantage. Smart card facility, that means by using one card user can access your library, they can pay their fine and many other things. Online user training and orientation program, different kind of stock rectification process on stock verification process supports, member ID card generation, fine calculation in real time, report generation from the end user level, get pass generation. These are all value added services we can expect from an integrated library system. Then if we move to the next level, that is the what are the functional checklist we should ensure from a library automation system. These are again divided into three groups. One is the data related functional activities, next is the service related functional activities, and third is the administration related functional activities. In the data related activities, we need to know the searching capabilities for all modules, not only the cataloging module. Say for example, sometimes in circulation module also, in case of member management module also, you need to search by the user surname, by the forename, by giving different kind of date range, etc. So, ensure the searching capabilities not only in cataloging module or in OPAC, but also in other modules. Then data entry and editing facilities, whether these are standardized or not, whether these are integrated with different kind of pickup list or not. If you are using Mark 21, you need to have pickup list for different kind of standards, like for GAC, geographical area code for a particular mark category, for the language code for the mark tag 041. So, these are the requirements at the data entry level. Then cataloging control, direct linking of cataloging data with the authority records. That means, when you are entering a particular cataloging data, it should create the authority records on the basis of the main access point, that is the in mark it can be 100, 110, rather 1XX group. Similarly, it should generate authority record on the top of 6XX group and 7XX group, say 650 subject access system or 700 added entity personal name, 710 added entity corporate author. So, this we need to check whether it is generating similar number of authority records or not, and whether it is linking the authority records with the bibliographic records in real time or not. So, these are the data related functional checklist we need to check. In the service related group, we need to check different kind of available services, that is the OPAC searching, circulation, renewals, reservation, notice, user driven reservation, number of holds allowed, strict adherence with the circulation rule you framed in the at the time of configuring the ILS. So, all these things we need to check. At the administrative level, we have to check whether it can generate enough number of reports and statistics, fund accounting, export import facilities, digital media archiving, scheduled backup, auto restoration at the time of emergency, all these kind of things. Now, if we go to the next level, that is the generic parameters related to data conversion and backup. As I told you, in the right from the 5th generation, the library automation process become fully interoperable. That means you need to ensure that your data is movable from your one system to another system, and please make it ready to check that whether you can export data from your system or not, because no software is permanent. Today you are using software X, tomorrow you will be moving to the software Y. So, your data should be movable from software X to software Y. That is a very important check, and you need to check whether it is supporting different kind of international standards or not. Now, as I told you that the difference between the digital library system and automated library systems are blurring each and every day. That means they are trying to integrate with each other. So, you need to check whether your library automation system is OAI PMH compatible or not. That is a very important feature. Mostly up to 4th generation, we never considered the compatibility with the OAI PMH standard, but in the 5th generation OAI PMH compatibility of ILS become mandatory, so that you can serve data to other harvesters and other crawler for making a single user search interface, or single window search interface rather. The next data related activities, you need to check whether the backup facilities are available in suitable media or not, whether you can directly select the backup or not, whether you can go for the scheduled backup or not, how is the process of restoration what is the process of restoration at the time of emergency. So, all these are parameters related to data conversion and backup. In the next level, as I told you, presently the most important consideration for an ILS, compatibility with the global standards. So, if we study the standard requirement at the minimum level, in the 4-5 sectors, say for example cataloging, what are the standards required, holdings, what are the standards required. Similarly, say for example, if we start with the cataloging, the minimum set of standards your ILS should support is ISO 2709 for bibliographic data interoperability, then Mark 21, UniMark or CCF as a framework standard, Z39.50 protocol at least client part, and if server part is available, it is an added advantage. So, these 4-5 standards you need to check in the cataloging module. Again I am repeating, ISO 2709, Mark 21 as a global de facto data standard, Z39.50 protocol, both client and server. At the holding level, we need to ensure whether it is supporting Z39.71 standard or not, BIS 9735 2002 standard or not. In the acquisition level, whether it is supporting EDIFACT or not. Say for example, no Indian library automation software is compatible with EDIFACT, but the latest version of Koha, which released on 28th May, version is 16.05. So, that is EDIFACT compatible. That means you can have a payment gateway inside your library automation system, and you can pay directly to publisher, vendor and other thing through the EDIFACT standard, that is called electronic data interchange format for accounts. Now, at the circulation level, we have different kind of ANSI NISO standard, Z39.83 part 1 and part 2. So, your library automation software should support this standard, and popularly known as NCIP standards, because we have standard for bibliographic data exchange, but we do not have any standard for circulation data exchange. For example, you want to move from software X to software Y. So, you can export and import your data on the top of the standard ISO 2709, but at the same time if you want to move your circulation data from X to Y, Presently there is no standard available. So NCIP is a standard, NISO circulation interchange protocol is coming in a big way through which you can export your circulation data from software X to software Y. At the RFID level, again you know RFID is coming in a big way. The standards are available ISO 25860 part 1. So you need to ensure whether it is supporting or not. Unicode compatibility must be supported. All Unicode character sets UTF-8, UTF-16 and UTF-32 must be supported by your ILS. And other emerging standard which are not must for an ILS, but it is always an added advantage if those compatibilities are available in your ILS. These are MARC XML standard which is coming in a big way to replace ISO 2709, METS metadata encoding and transmission schema, MODS SRU SRW coming as an alternative of Z39.50 and Z39.50 server, through which you can provide your bibliographic data to other libraries. In the next level, if we go for the hardware and software requirements, so you need to check what are the configuration required for setting your server and what are the minimum configuration for using your client machine. Then you also need to check what are the back-end operating system requirement, what are the back-end RDBMS requirement. For example, say for example, one of the most popular software available in India, Sol. So Sol is available freely in the northeastern states and at a minimal price in other Indian states. But the moment you are using Sol, you need to have Windows NT based operating system at the minimum Windows Advanced Server 2010. You need to have MS SQL at least 5 user licenses. So those are not available freely. For those back-end operating system and back-end database management system, you need to pay to vendor. So you calculate your cost of catalog, library automation on the basis of the third party operating system requirement and back-end RDBMS requirement. For example, in case of open source ILS like Koha or Emildia or Evergreen, they are using all third party software which are also available as open source. Say for example, Koha is based on LAMP architecture. It is using any Linux flavor as operating system, MySQL as RDBMS support, PHP and Perl as programming environment, Apache as web server. So all these third party softwares are also available as open source free of cost. So when you are buying a commercial software, you please calculate what are the third party component software requirements and what cost library needs to pay for that. Now in the performance testing level, you need to check transaction throughput or capacity, response time against a particular search, hardware functionality, module functionality, then conversion testing, whether really exporting, importing, searching, indexing is happening or not, database loading time, indexing building time, whether it can build index in real time or at the end of the day you need to build index as a batch processing system. So these are the performance testing you need to do before selecting a particular software. But some of these are all generic parameters we have discussed, but some of the parameters you need to consider especially when you are buying a commercial ILS. Say first factor is the vendor viability, whether the producer and the developer of that particular software, that is the company or the vendor, is authentic or not, what is their goodwill, for how long they are in the market. These are the factors you need to consider. Then training and customer support, whether the adequate training facilities available or not, whether the full documentation and manuals available or not, what should be the training mode, whether you need to depute your staff to their place or they will come for on-site training, what should be the on-call support system, whether they will attend on the basis of a phone call or you have to send a letter every time. So all this needs to be checked, that is called the training and customer support modules. And most importantly, you check with the documentation, because in case of commercial ILSs, some of the things they never disclose. So you always ensure that each and every documentation to manage different modules are available with. Similarly, when you are selecting an open source ILS, you also must take into consideration the presence of the software in the market. What is the user base, how many libraries are using, whether your neighboring libraries are using it or not. So, all these factors you need to consider for open source ILSs. So, with this we can have a summary of discussion. So, we talked about the evaluation parameters under 3 heads. Generic parameters we covered, then specific parameters to be considered for different kind of service availability. Then we actually discussed different type of evaluation parameters related to the selection of library automation packages. What are the specific factors you need to consider for commercial packages, and what are the parameters you need to consider for open source ILS. Thank you.